right, next video of the Vintage Cube splashes, and we're on to the red-green color combination. So let's start things off with green. Yeah, last time we had blue and black. If you missed that one, go and check it out. I think I got around to most of the stuff. I'm also willing to add more stuff to that list. I've decided to include some niche cards and some like slam dunks. Kind of a cool combination to kind of give you inspiration on how to draft this cube. So let's start off with Pest Infestation. Pest Infestation is a card that's kind of weird because you can easily miss the fact that you can play this card on an empty board. I really enjoy these cards that are good on turn 3 and good on turn 10. This is not quite for Theolingus, but it is a good card, good mana sink, and a good splash in most decks, I would say. So for 3 mana, you can disenchant 1 artifact or enchantment and get 2 1/1s. That's, I mean, slightly better than a Reclamation Sage, nothing to write home about. But once you go to 5 mana, you kill 2 things and get 4 1/1s, or 7 mana, you kill 3 things and get 8 1/1s. No, that's not true. 6 1/1s. Then this card just scales very good. So Pest Infestation, very good in the format of Talismans, Moxen, Tolarian Academy decks, and pesky stuff. So yeah. This card, very, very strong. I will happily pick it early, and I'll happily pick it up later after having spec'd a little bit on my green splashes. Then there's Esika's Chariot. Esika's Chariot is no Minsc and Boo, but it is a very good haymaker. So you play this card, you get 2 cats. Those cats can crew this vehicle. So let's just say my opponent, I don't know, kills this Chariot with whatever. They kill it with Council's Judgment. Then I'm left with 2 cats, so pretty darn strong. And if I ever get to, crew an attack, I start making more cats, or if I have like better tokens on the battlefield, I can make copies of those. This card is just a very strong card. Usually I'll play it in some, let's say black mid-range decks, or it could be like a blue-red deck, splashing green. This card is just solid if your game plan is not combo. I would basically say that as my rule of thumb. Just a strong card. Tireless Tracker is kind of the same, very similar. This card obviously excels with fetches, and I'll play it in most decks that aren't like incredibly aggressive. This card is strong in any mid-range deck. This card is strong in any aggro decks to have a little bit of oomph, a little bit of mana sink going into the late game. But as always, with a card like this, you need enough sources, and if you have to play more than 1 forest in the deck, in an ungreen deck, it's not really worth it. But it's a solid card. You can kind of compare it to the 2 mana counters I talked about out of the blue-black episode, because those are not insane auto includes, but if the mana is there, it's a good card quality. So the next card, let's dive into the 6. It's a new card. So 3 mana Reach, 2/4. Whenever 6 attacks mill 3 cards, you may put a land card from among them into your hand. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have Retrace. So Retrace is basically where you can discard a land and play that card from your graveyard. So it only comes with permanent cards, so putting this in your blue-red spells deck doesn't make a ton of sense. When it attacks mill 3 cards, you may put a land card from those in your hand. That's pretty strong because it works with Triomes, works with Horizon Lands, works with Strip Mine Wasteland. It's really interesting that it works with Triomes because you put it into your hand. So while having a 3 mana draw card engine is not insane, it's still very, very useful. Also, this is incredible with Black Lotus, which is a little bit of icing on top. Just got a land to replay your Black Lotus. Don't mind if I do. So this card is like new, kind of hard to evaluate, but I mean, this is a 2/4 for 3 mana, 2/4 Reach with a bunch of text on it. So pretty good card. Then this is a more while it's also similar to 6, it's also very different. So Remnant Excavator, good old like Crucible on legs. You may play lands from your graveyard. So let's say I have a whatever blue-red deck, red-black deck, mono-white deck, doesn't really matter, and I have a Strip Bind. I'll be looking to splash this card, and it's possible I should have had Life from the Loam on this list as well. It's like kind of the same thing. If I have a Strip Mine, it's maybe worth working for. The good thing about this is it's also a 2/3 and just, being a creature is a big upside. So this is like very strip mine heavy card, but if I have like Wasteland, 2 fetches, and a Horizon land, I'll also play this card. But yeah, the strip mine is really what puts this card on this list, basically. Next card is Terra Sunder, which is not anything insane, but let's say you have a green ramp deck and you have these rainbow accelerants like birds, like Sylvan Caryatid, the ones I also talked about in the previous episode. You can play this card as it's still a 2-mana disenchant, which is not terrible. And the exile even comes up against stuff like, I don't know, Triplicate Titan is the last example I remember. But yeah, being able to kill everything here is just cool to have for a ramp deck. And if you have the mana available, might as well chuck it in there. I really enjoy that you can just, Stone Rain a Mox or Talisman early, and you can kill whatever later. Just solid catch-all. Then there's Oath of Druids. That card is a bit more specific. So Oath of Druids will go in these, could be like blue-black Reanimator, red-black Reanimator Sneak type deck, where you don't really run any cheap creatures, and if you do, make sure you really don't have a lot. Like, I've seen so many people Oath into stuff like Llanowar Elves, Ragavan, Lotus Cobra, Sakura Tribolder, etc. So that you need a good ratio, but Oath can just destroy certain archetypes like mono white, mono red, like more aggressive decks where they can't win if they don't put creatures to the board. And if they put a creature to the board, you can, I don't know, Oath into an Eldrazi or whatever and finish the game. So yeah, if you're trying to cheat fatties into play, just like Flash in the episode before, Oath of Druids is something you want to look at. It might make sense in your deck, but if you have like too many cheap setup creatures, yeah, not the best. Like Jacerin's Prodigy, Fair Mastermind, all of that stuff. Maybe Oath of Druids is not the right card for the deck. Then we have Hex Drinker, which is it's a 1-drop on the surface, but the cool thing about this card is it's good on turn 1, it's good on turn 10. So I've splashed Hex Drinker before out of my whatever blue-black control deck or whatever the case may be. This card is decent. It's not super high on the list, but I would say it's like similar to Chariot and Tracker, and it's below Pest Infestation, maybe something along those lines. But yeah, Hex Drinker definitely worth splashing, despite the general wisdom being, oh, it's a 1-drop, and I don't necessarily have green early, so this is not worth it. But it is. Last green card here is Sowing Myca Spawn, which is a new Modern Horizons 3 card. This card is also, I would say, mainly a Strip Mine and Tolarian Academy card, because when you cast a spell, you search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. There's also a Merit Late strategies here, so if you play like mono black, mid-range, a little bit of Reanimation, a little bit of Merit Late combo, but hey, I have a Bayou, I have a Fetch, I have a Triumph, or whatever the case may be, you can play this card, and it's a little bit of redundancy when it comes to putting your land combos together. Also, if you play, I don't know, Blue-Eyed Artifacts, have a Triumph here, Fetch there, Mox, Chromatic Star, Pentad Prism, like just some random stuff that enables this green mana, and all of a sudden you have an additional Academy, right? So it's good to look. Generally, the tutors are worth looking at more than once, and this is no exception. Let's move to red here. Let's start with a couple. Through the Breach and Sneak Attack. So funnily enough, when you're splashing, Through the Breach is the better card because you don't need double red when you just need 5 mana with 1 red. And with Sneak Attack, you need to kind of either split it over two turns or going Sneak Attack activate on the same turn, which is hard if you're splashing. So yeah, these two are awesome. Mainly like Reanimator cards, kind of like Flash to give more crossover so that drawing your stuff, your big creatures, isn't a huge downside. Then we have a new card here, Pyrogoyf. Red and 3 colorless. It has like Tarmogoyf text when it comes to power and toughness. And whenever Pyrogoyf or another Lurgoyf, which is kind of cool with clones, enters the battlefield under your control, that creature deals damage to its equal to its power to any target. So let's just say you play some blue deck that just randomly cycles lore and reveal, cracks fetches, plays cantrips. Then you can play this card as a 5/6, and all of a sudden it's like a Flame Tongue Kabu on steroids. So I really enjoy this card. I haven't played with it yet. I've just theorized a little bit about where it would fit in, and it looks very strong. I'm excited to play with that one. Then we have Headliner Scarlet, which is another weird one. Same casting cost as the Lurgoyf. 3/3 haste. When it enters the battlefield, creatures target player controls can't block this turn. That's huge. Just imagine you have a green deck that is trying to break through the board. You have some big creatures, your opponent has some big creatures, you're kind of sitting there, and then you draw this card. That's just like you win the game. That effect has been MVP and limited for years. And then it has the other text where, so this card is another example of, it's good whenever you have 4 mana, and it's good to draw on turn 10, right? It's good to draw on turn 10 because you break through and win the game with combat. It's good to draw early because it's like Dark Confidant / Chandra type ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at that card and play it this turn. So, especially with a card like this, it excels in non-blue, because if you play blue, you can exile counter spells with this card, and that's kind of bad. Note that it is play, so you can also play lands with this card. But yeah, being proactive is very nice with this card. So yeah, a green deck splashing for it is the most likely one. Then we have Wheel of Fortune. So it's basically, do I have a black deck with Bowmasters, a blue deck with Narset / Hull Breacher? You can splash the wheel in there. There's also some corner cases, like I have Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, like fast artifact deck that's able to put a lot of mana into play, like Mana Vault, whatever. And then all of a sudden you want the wheel because you played out some accelerants, the opponent played a couple of lands and passed the turn, right? So you can maybe take advantage of being that fast. Then we have Underworld Breach here. Underworld Breach is a combo finish card. So if I'm playing like let's say blue-black Brain Freeze type deck, I want to splash Underworld Breach to go infinite. It's basically like Yawgmoth's Will in the other video, where it's just another color. So but it's like within the Grixis. I would say it's within the Grixis range of a combo card. I can see some more aggressive decks using the card, but those would mainly be red to begin with. So yeah. And then we have these 4 red 3-drops. So let's go through them one at a time. So Lelia, probably the weakest one of those cards, but Lelia, 3 mana, 2/2. Whenever it attacks, it grows, and when you exile the top of your color library, you can play that card. Lelia is good, and especially out of stuff like green, where you can go turn 1 Birds or Ignoble Heart, turn 2 Lelia, accelerate it out before the opponent gets on the table. But to be honest, if you have the mana for it, it's like, I think you can compare it to like Tracker, maybe something along those lines. It's just a solid card, and there are some weird synergies with it, like with Delve cards, or yeah, I guess mainly that. Maybe there are some graveyard stuff that kind of eats your graveyard, and then all of a sudden this grows. Oh, let's see. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library graveyard, yeah. So it's like you can soul guide a card out of your own yard to grow it. If you get hit by Ragavan, it grows, stuff like that, right? Then we have Gut, one of my favorite cards in the cube. This is like pretty unassuming, but the fact that you can play this card, you can attack with a creature, then you can sacrifice whatever, a clue, a bad creature, an equipment you can't use. God forbid you have like Skull Clamp on a creature, you can sacrifice that creature and draw cards. This card is just awesome. So mainly playing it out of green, splashing it out of green, or splashing it in your white aggressive deck is going to be awesome. Fable of the Mirror Breaker I would play in basically any deck. Also, it enables my graveyard for reanimation. So let's say I play blue-black Reanimator, but I also have a Fable in the deck. Perfect. I play mono-white. I have a Fable in my deck. Perfect. This card is just overall extremely strong, so it doesn't really matter the context, but obviously it can get better if you have some stuff to copy in the end, or you care about the graveyard, or you care about the artifacts even. Like, this card does it all. And then you have Broadside Bombardier, which is another card that is probably going to be good in any deck, but going to be worse in like Control without too many artifacts lying around. But it's especially cool. You can just fling your random creature that can't attack anymore. You can fling your Mox that already played out whatever you needed to play ahead of schedule. And then there are some cool stuff where you can kind of fling a bigger permanent for the win, or get rid of your own One Ring, or yeah, this card is just incredibly awesome. I think this card would even be good if it was just Broadside Bombardier deals damage equal to the sacrificed permanent's mana value. But this is +2, so yeah, very, very strong card that can close out the game quickly. Again, put it in your white deck, put it in your green deck, and it's going to be worth it. So that'll do it for the red-green video. As I said, the blue-black video is already out. Now we have the red-green one, and up next we have white and multicolored. So yeah, don't miss that one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.